So I'm glad I added in a few, well, kind of glad I added in a few more books to this pile of the comics I'll be reading for the next few weeks video, because I want to do a final cut of this video. The first one was fine, but I was just missing one book, and when that last book came in from the library, I was like, I might as well do another cut of this video. I'm sure there were a few things that I said or that I wanted to change, like I messed up words here, or I prattled on too much there. And that's honestly what happened last cut. It was mostly good, except I prattled on a few places. So, one thing I do want to mention before I get into the books is that this is a bit different. So what I usually do is I usually check out, I got the OGNs, that's whatever amount. Usually I don't want it to be any more than 6. So let's say 5 OGNs, which are original graphic novels, and those are the comics that I read all in one sitting. So it's that entire book that you see, I read all that in one day. Not necessarily in one sitting, but on a good day, I finish it before I go to bed that night. Then, for the ones that are like originally published in a single magazine form as X-Men 1 through 6, those I get 22 of. So I'm reading 11, the first 11 on one day, and then the last 11 on the second day. This time around, because I want to finish as much as I possibly can, but not too much, I do have to read 11 per day of the same books. And then when I finish, like, Justice League, I'll replace it with Batman. Or I'll replace it with, I'll finish up Sin City, which I did not get this time, and I'll replace it with Fire and Ice, Welcome to Smallville. Something like, that's what I do. Now, one final thing I want to mention is that this is the miscellaneous comics pile. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean I have there's two sets of books that I get from the library. One set is the Image Comics Writers pile, where, I just got books by Mark Guggenheim, and Brian Buccellato, and Scott Snyder, and Keegan-Michael Key, that's not his name. What's the one that wrote Spider-Man Reign? It's under Carrie Andrews, Erica Schultz, Alex DeCampi, should not mention that name, Jim Zub. I got books by all these authors this month. So to celebrate, I want to see what my library has from other publishers from these authors. Because obviously I got everything they did for Image, so I don't need to get anything the library has from Image. Now there are exceptions. I've been breaking the rule a little bit here and there, just so I don't have to get 8,000 Kyle Higgins books for 1 month. So here and there, I've been like, you know what? I have $25 left over. Nothing else that I can think of off the top of my head that I want really, really bad right now. So let's get this Kyle Higgins book. But for the most part, it's everything by that author. And to celebrate, I see what the library has. That is the Image Comics Writers pile. This pile is miscellaneous. The writers like Frank Miller, who have done nothing for Image except for 2 Spawn, and I don't even count Spawn, so really has done nothing for Image outside those 2 Spawn issues. And Tom Taylor has actually done nothing for Image Comics. Tom Taylor, to this day, he has still done nothing for Image Comics, nor does it seem like he is going to anytime in the future, because he has a lot of DC work to catch up on. So makes sense. It makes sense. But without further ado, let's get into it. It's a big pile, and I was scrambling around. My drink. And I was scrambling around trying to get the last few books together. Come on. So there's not one thing, it's the other with these videos. If I mess up a word, or I forget what I was going to mention and forget it later on, I haven't drank in 5 minutes, so my throat's going to do dry mouth thing. I probably do have a form of dry mouth. I think everybody does. I think it's one of those things that people say they have, and they're like, oh my god, you have that? Is that serious? And they're like, yeah, it is. And they only say that so they can have their drinks on the host stand. That's what my coworkers did when I was working at Red Robin, and I do not blame them whatsoever. I do not blame them whatsoever. At all whatsoever. I think it's safe to say that. Anyways, the first 7 are OGNs. As I mentioned before, the ones that, for the most part, I read all in one sitting. Now, what's kind of neat about this time around is that some of these books I only know about because on my library, I have an account to my library where I check in books and check in books, where I order books from. It's kind of like how Amazon, you order them and sometimes you'll get it same day, sometimes get it within the next few days. That is the main, that's the catalog. There's 2 catalogs, but I don't want to confuse you guys. So I'm just going to say there's one, and this one, they have a recommended for you section. I will mention both catalogs in a second here, but just for now, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, so I'm just going to say that. There's the one catalog, it has a recommended for you section. A few of the books I got this time around, I only knew about because they were in that section. Starting with a book I never even knew was a comic, I just knew of it as a TV show, and that is The End of the Fucking World. Now, this, they have the F word censored here, but not here. Neither was it censored on my library's, the actual catalog, or the checkout receipt. So nowhere in there was it censored. But here is the only place where it's censored. Everywhere else it was uncensored. The spine, the checkout receipt, and on the library's catalog. I find that kind of funny. I get probably because how sensitive the search can be. They probably was like, you know what? We're just gonna let you sit and just let you type in the word "fucking." Isn't that really funny? Ha ha ha. But so you know that it exists. We have it in our catalog. And honestly, on the spine, it's not censored. Let's see if it is right here, where it says... No, it's not. We have the copyright section. It's not censored. Now, this is a Netflix show. It was a Netflix show, a book first and Netflix show. I watched a few episodes of the Netflix show. Liked what I had seen so far, but that was way, way back in the first days of us having Netflix. And it kind of was one of those things where... I think what actually happened was I was getting sick of me watching Netflix. Then my sister wanted to watch Netflix, and she forced me, never the other way around, I might add, and she forced me off of Netflix. And by the other way around is I never got to say, hey, I'm watching Netflix, can you wait? No, it was always like, no, you wait for me. That was what my sister said, and I was like, whatever. And I think that just happened way too many times, and I was like, fuck Netflix, I'm gonna go watch Prime Video instead, or just get back on YouTube, and then I've never really... Honestly, the last Netflix show that I watched, I think, was F is for Family. I think it was we're on, like, what, 5 seasons now? It's 5 seasons total. I had started watching season 4. But other than that, it was basically nothing on Netflix. A movie here and there, but as far as TV shows were concerned, pretty much nothing. And it's even, like, TV shows in general. The only ones I'm, like, consistently catching up on is Family Guy and Smiling Friends. That's it. And neither of which are on any streaming services. Well, they're on. One is on HBO Max, and the other one is on Hulu. But I watch them elsewhere. On TV, that's what I mean. But yes, The End of the Fucking World, did not know it was a comic book, so I will be bringing with it... So, that's another thing. One final thing I want to mention. I did mention that I was going... And I did mention I was going on vacation. Yeah, because I was going on vacation, I didn't want to bring a whole fat stack of comics with me. So, I wanted to read as much as I can before that moment, before we go away. But because I know I'll have some extra time, much extra time on vacation, I do want to start watching this TV show. Because I believe it's a miniseries too. At the very least, it's 2 seasons. I don't think it's still going on. I could be wrong though. But I feel like I would know. Next up is The Hazards of Love. Now with this miscellaneous comic writers section. Set of books, unlike when I do it the Image Comics writers pile, I'm not the set of books. I'm not going to say who the writer is for each of these books. When it's the Image Comics writers set of books, yes, I will say who the writer is because there's a point in doing that. But I do want to mention the writer here because I thought it was pretty funny that the writer's full name is Stan Stanley. I found that kind of funny. Now this is a very thick book, and this does go by chapter, so sometimes I will read them by chapter. But I don't count them as anything but OGNs, unless it says, Collecting the Hazards of Love, 1 through 8. Honestly, this is so thick, it probably collects 10 issues, if it was a collected edition. But I think it's because of the paper stock they use, it's a smaller book, it looks like it's a lot thicker than it actually is. Because sometimes we get that with books like this. But anyways, Hazards of Love, this was one that was recommended to me on my library account. So some of these I don't have much to say. Same with Reindeer Boy. Recommended to me. Other thing I want to mention is that this is Yen Press. And I don't know, because the writer is Cassandra Jean. That's obviously not a Japanese name. And I wonder, and this goes to show how little I know about manga also, but I think it only counts as a manga if it's written by a Japanese writer and it's in a manga format, obviously. I could be wrong, but the reason why I say that is because on my library's catalog, this was classified as a graphic novel, not a manga. They will say if it's a manga. They'll say either manga if it's a manga or graphic novel if it's a graphic novel. Usually, they don't do things like this where it's technically could be both. Because if you see from the artwork and there's everything, the way that the book is formatted, you can tell it is a manga. Now, a lot of these also, what's nice about most of these, or some of these books, is that I'm going in completely blind. So far, the only one I'm not going in completely blind in with is The End of the Fucking World. But it's been so long since I watched that show that I remember one thing only, and it's just kind of a shocking scene. So obviously you're going to remember it. Will not spoil it, because it is a spoiler, technically. But those of you who watch the show probably know what I mean, especially those who know what happened in each specific episode. Again, I want to say I watched the first 2. Let's say 2. Maybe 3. 4 seems like too much. And unfortunately, unless I had it on my my profile on the shared account, I don't think it'll keep up. My library. My laptop is not plugged in, meaning it's probably gonna be turned back on. I would take a break too. See if I can do that. You know, I'll turn it on right now, and then we'll go from there. We'll check in a second here. But yeah, Hazards of Lava going in completely blind with, and Reindeer Boy I am obviously going in completely blind with. That did not turn on. Oh, it's because it was on already. My library. Why keep saying library? My laptop has the weirdest glitch where it says it's on, but I click all the keys and it won't turn on. And then I close it again, and then wait like 5 to 10 seconds, up to a minute, and then it will shut itself off. And it's like, oh no, we were off this whole entire time. It's a weird glitch, but hey, it's pretty much, other than the battery life being shit, the only thing wrong with my laptop. And the battery life, I can just get a new fucking battery, you know? And then problem solved. There is also a little like right here on the laptop, there is a little kind of like glitchy thing, but it's hardly noticeable. The only time I notice it is when I'm watching a movie and the scene is dark, like completely dark. Other than that, I don't notice it, so no skin off my dick. Alright, next up is Navigating with You. This one I'm going somewhat blind with. I remember hearing there was like a month or 2 ago, so I'm saying I remember, like it was 8 years ago. But about a month or so ago, there was someone, I think it was your boy Zach, made a post on this book, and he said that Jeremy Whitley writes a Jeremy Whitley book, and then the only other thing was that the controversy was that there's a trans character in here, and I think at least, again, this is going off of memory, which is kind of vague, and the trans character was going through gender dysphoria, and it was portrayed in an exact way you'd imagine a book like this to portray it. And they were kind of like, this is like very heavy-handed. That was about the only controversy. And I was like, hey, if the library has it, I'll check it out. Sure enough, about 2 weeks after that, I want to say a week, it was pretty damn quick, I saw this one. I was going to get it then, but decided to wait until now. And now I have it in my hand. Will it end up being the next This One Summer? I doubt it, but hopefully it's at least enjoyable. Because Jeremy Whitley, I have the worst track record with his work. I just have not liked anything that I despised The Unstoppable Wasp. The Unstoppable Wasp was so terrible that it would definitely be, first of all, it would definitely be in the top 5 worst comics of all time. And I think it'd be the second one, right behind Squirrel Girl. And that is an impressive feat to accomplish, to make your comic almost as bad as Squirrel Girl, to the point where I'm honestly like, is it as bad? I mean, I like with Squirrel Girl, it was a literal chore to try and finish that book, so maybe. Alright, so let's check real quick to see if I have it, whatever. Ugh, of course, it's being slow. Alright, there we go. Netflix. It's like super laggy right now. It just woke up, and sometimes my laptop will act like an old man. But it happens so infrequently that I didn't remember that. I was like, oh yeah, sometimes it does happen, unfortunately. Alright, so my profile, wait for that to load. I hate when things load right when you are almost off of them. Your next watch, games, quickly claim. Nope, doesn't remember. It's been that long. Alright, even Netflix's memory isn't that great. Lore Olympus, the first reread of any of them. Because so far, these are, obviously, like I said, I was going completely blind with all of these, and even with navigating with you, I was reading on the details of the book. So obviously, the only reread is this. Lore Olympus. This one, so the rereads fall under 3 criteria. The main one is every 6 months. I liked it so much, I want to read it again and again and again, and on average, that will happen every 6 months. That is the case with Lore Olympus. The second criteria is reread to redeem. I did not like the book the first time around. I want to give it a second chance. That is why I'll be reading it again. The third criteria is reread to refresh. There's a new volume of the series out, my library has it, and it's been so long I need to refresh my memory on what happened in the first, let's say, 5 volumes. Let's say the 6th volume is out of that series. And that is also the case with Lore Olympus. And it's kind of funny how sometimes it's like both of them, they merge. Technically speaking, Gotham Academy was all 3. Like, it, not... Like, after Volume 1, I would say it was technically all 3. But even then, I forgot that was a reread to redeem at first. That's a good example of how I'll reread something and hate it the first time and absolutely love it the second time around. That's what happened with Gotham Academy. I gave it a second chance. Technically a third if you count Volume 1, because Volume 1 I read 3 times. The first time I hated it so much I didn't even bother to read past Volume 1. And then I decided to say, I said screw it and did that the second time around and got to all but the follow-up series. And the third time I reread the entire series, the first series, let's say, of course, at least. It was complete turnaround. I absolutely loved it. Every problem I had was completely null and void, and I forgot when I was showing off Volume 2, I was like, this is a reread every 6 months. And then I think it was like when I was showing off the next book, it's like, no, wait, Gotham Academy, it's a reread, because I like it so it's a reread. It started off as a reread to redeem. Now it's a reread every 6 months. That's how much of a turnaround that I had with Gotham Academy. And it's a great advertisement for why people should give books a second chance. I would say every 6 months on average. So, in between, it can be a year. If you absolutely hated it, I would say wait a year. If you liked parts of it, 6 months. If you liked most of it, but you didn't love it as much as everyone else did, 2 to 3 months. Then again, everybody is different. Some people they'll reread something and they will absolutely hate it. There's very few for me, which is nice. But everyone's different. 6 Days, The Incredible Story of D-Day's Lost Chapter. This is written by Robert Venditti. Now, so I kind of did the Image Comics writers thing. I was like, hey, I just recently, because they had a sale on Kindle books from DC Comics. And all the writers I bought things from, whether or not they were Image writers or not, I was like, hey, let's see what the library has for this writer. And I did that for Robert Venditti. I'll say what the other ones are when I get to it. Now, what's really funny about that is that instance, that was in December, before Christmas. Because of how much I've been getting carried away with the Image Comics writers piles of comics that I check out from the library, we haven't done one of these, the Miscellaneous Comics writers pile, since December. And it was at the end of December, so it's more like, and I sprinkled into January because I was kind of behind my reading too. But still, it's been a long time. So technically speaking, I've not done one of these specific videos all year. It's just been an Image Comics writers pile. I find it kind of funny. Kind of crazy to think about. Then I factor in just how long it takes me, quote unquote long, it takes me to read these, and then that kind of makes sense. And then the final OGN, we're only 7 books in, and we're only at 20 minutes. I don't mind that one bit, and I found out that some of you guys don't mind either, which is why I do this. Because I can't, sometimes I like really getting into why I check out these specific books. If I'm rereading them, why I reread books, or why the specific reread, or what, sometimes I do have to mention, whether or not it's a reread or not, I do have to mention certain details about the book. Moving on to the last OGN, and that is Upgrade Soul. Saw this on Nearman Conditions / Omar's old reader, new reader video, and he was that week's pick was Upgrade Soul. I saw that and immediately saw my library had a copy without knowing a single thing about this book. They had it and I checked it out. I would say the reason why was I was judging it based on the cover, and with comics you certainly can do that. You'll be seeing a book that's way down at the bottom, like towards the bottoms, but I will mention when it comes up that I did judge it. I wish I had judged it off its cover, because I would not have checked it out if that were the case. But you'll see that when I get to it. Alright, now on to the rereads, of which there are a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 rereads. Can you tell that I added in a lot of books at the last minute? And I've maybe finished some? You will never know. Okay, so first one up is Black. This is a reread, kind of to redeem. I know this is not at all a book that people thought was at all good. And kind of a reread to refresh, because my library does have the next volume, and I completely forgot to put that one in. But I thought this was, when I first read it, I thought it was okay. I didn't completely hate it, but I didn't completely love it either. It was not a Man-Eaters where it was so bad it was good. I just remember it being just okay. A little bit above boring. Ronin Island is the next one, and this is a reread because I like it so much, but also Greg Pak. I believe I did get, I can't remember off the top of my head what I got, but I did get a Greg Pak. Oh, it was whatever he did recently. It was that, what was it called? It was the recent DC book he had done, and that was what I got because it was on sale. And then, City Boy. And then I was like, oh, let's see what Greg Pak has from the library. Oh yeah, Ronin Island, I want to reread that. It's by sheer coincidence I've been meaning to reread that because I liked it so much. But Ronin Island. Regarding the matter of Oswald's body. This is a reread. Some rereads reread every 6-month books. I like them so much, yes, but also there's a little asterisk, and it's even the first time I read it, I did not gather all the details because of how convoluted / confusing the book is. That is the case with regarding the matter of Oswald's body. A lot happens in this 5-issue miniseries, surprisingly. The Blue Flame, a reread because I like it so much, every 6-month kind of book. This is the absolution of Christopher Cantwell books. What I mean by that? Well, I mean that the simplest, I guess you could say, because both this and Absolution are not going to be in anyone's top 10 list of the most groundbreaking superhero comics of all time. It's no Invincible. It's not even as good as The Boys, I'd argue, but it is a really outstanding effort in its own light. And that was the same way I felt about Absolution. Also, both have similar plot lines. If you liked one, you'll like the other. Now, Absolution, I would say, again, I haven't reread it for a second time yet, so I can't say faux show, but it's pretty safe to naturally assume, based off my first reread, what I remember from the first reread of The Blue Flame, that it was not as vulgar as Absolution was. So if you don't like your comics super vulgar and super violent, then maybe go to Blue Flame instead of Absolution, but both should be read, regardless. Because both are really damn good. If you want something that's not going to break new ground, but it's entertaining, and it does break some new ground. There are some twists and turns here. Not major ones, but enough to where it became super memorable, and it became a pick of the, and I think it did make the pick of the week back when I read it. And yes, I do regret not remembering about Autumn Lands, and everything else was written by that writer. That was a really good book. I honestly want to say it was the same week I checked out Blue Flame. Could be wrong though. New Suicide Squad. This is for my personal collection. No, I do not know why I didn't put this right after. Oh, yeah, actually, that's right too. I'm going by publisher. So New Suicide Squad in format too. This one is a reread to refresh. No, it's not. Oh no! Come on, brain. Okay, you didn't see that. No one saw New Suicide Squad. That has never been shown. That was not a reread. I'm so stupid. No one saw that. Plus 13 rereads. Justice League International Volumes 1 and 2. Not every reread every 6 months is one I loved absolutely. Some of them are like Justice League International, where they were just passable and just passable enough to want for me to want to reread them every 6 months or so. But nothing groundbreaking happens in these books. They're just kind of filler, I guess you could say. Like you want to read something that's going to be at least somewhat enjoyable, and you read that. You see a local library, like, yeah, I've never read this before, it's free. That's Justice League International. It's kind of a shame, too, because it's written by Dan Jurgens, but I know that not everything a groundbreaking writer writes is going to be as good as their best material. I have been reading comics long enough to know that, and just have been consuming media long enough to know that. Alright. Far Sector, this is a reread to redeem. The first time, 2 times I've read this, I found this to be completely convoluted and overly convoluted too. No reason why it had to be as dense as it was. But hopefully in a third reread, I can get past that and enjoy what else this book has to offer. Hopefully. Punk Rock Jesus. This has been way too long since I've read this before. And also Sean Gordon Murphy, I finally, it was on sale all at once, finally got the last of his White Knight books. Hopefully the man is done with White Knight for now. And White Knight is done in general for now. Because there was the last series that wasn't written by him. And hopefully it's the last of White Knight. Because I'm a completist. And I think it would be. You'd think it would be. Because he stopped writing it. So he probably concluded his story along his storyline. And maybe what the book, the follow-up series that isn't written by him. Maybe it's more of an epilogue. I know it's a spin-off. Actually, it's a spin-off. Not an epilogue. Could be both, though. Alright. Dark Knights of Steel, Volumes 1 and 2. Reread every 6 months rule kind of book. And sometimes when I reread it, I already liked it enough to want to reread it again. Sometimes I'll read it and like it even more the second time around. Sometimes that happens. But it's my second time reading this series, not my third. I was just getting like that maybe that's the case. Maybe that will be the case. You never know, kind of thing. The Riddler, Year 1. What was it against this book? Oh yeah, so every 6 months rule kind of book. And I would honestly say, each time I've read the series, except for the first time, I've rented the Batman. So I think it's my third time rereading the series. Now, issue 5, I'm just going to show the interior artwork. Quote-unquote interior artwork. Because issue 5 is all this. Aesthetically pleasing, because it is different. I'll give it that. But it is a pain in the ass to read. And quite honestly, I might skip it this time around. But that is the only complaint I've ever had. And I think will ever have, with this book. I said, whoops, there was a nice little drawing there, and I just closed the book by accident. Where is the Batman drawn? Was that where it was? No, here. It's kind of cool. It's all done in pen. I wonder if it was actually drawn in pen. I don't think so, because unless that was pencil, I've scribbled in pen before, and that is definitely not that same. It doesn't leave the same kind of residue that pen leaves off of. So I don't know if I don't know, but it was all just like he just writes this manifesto for the Riddler, and it's done in this I think it's a timesheet on top of over a timesheet to use paper, and it was just the aesthetic was a nice little aesthetic. And the first time I read it, I did appreciate it, but I didn't like it. I was like, you could probably skip this, can't you? And the second time I did it, I was like, you know what? We'll power through it. and then this third time around I'll probably skip it, because I was testing the second time. I was like, it's been a little while, so I can't say faux show if you can skip it and be fine with it, but I think you can skip and be fine with it. And the third time around will be my test of that. If that's the case. Maybe I won't do that. Maybe I'll just power through it again. Again, Riddler Year 1 is so good that I don't completely mind doing that. Alright, and the last two rereads before we get on to the ones I'm reading for the first time, one of which you've totally not seen yet. Mistakes like that I don't mind making, It's not a big deal. What is a big deal is when it's several of them, and I've said, so what happens one time, and this is why I did a second cut, is that I was digging deep into them. I'm like, oh shit, there's a reread. And I'm like, I at least with this time around, I'm going to show off New Suicide Squad again. So those of you who are confused, be like, oh, okay, I see what he was getting at. It's not a reread. Because he's kind of OCD, he has this in a certain pile. Okay, so it's not a reread. I don't think it matters much to people, but it does to me. Anyways, last two rereads, and that is Tales of the Outerverse and Lady Baltimore, both written by Mike Mignola, and both books I did not enjoy at all, pretty much. So, definitely a reread to redeem. Mike Mignola, I should not come out of a Mike Mignola book being bored, and I was coming out bored with both of these. Tales from the Outerverse was a little bit better, because it had a little bit more going on at the end that I was invested in, but Lady Baltimore was like null and void, like nothing in there I liked. So, definitely a reread to redeem. And what's really funny about that is, even though I remember being absolutely positively bored reading Tales of the Outerverse, and especially Lady Baltimore, like right now I'm like, I want to read that I want to read those two right this second. That's how that's the magic of reread to redeem. Like, obviously, reread every 6 months. Yeah, no shit, I'm gonna be excited to read it again because I like that so much. But reread to redeem, there's some sort of unexplained magic with those books that I'm like, yeah, I do want to reread these books. I can't explain why, but I do. It's an unexplained phenomenon. How long has this video been going on for? 32 minutes, not bad. Alright. Tyson Hughes' Diesel Ignition. This was advertised on the back of other Boombox books, such as Giant Days. I think it was actually advertised on the back of the previous Giant Days book, if I'm not mistaken. Now, Giant Days is volume 9, and Giant Days has been just like one of those books that somehow gets even better as it goes along. And keep in mind, volume 9, and I'm still saying that. Lumberjanes, by volume 5, I was getting sick of it. I was getting sick of it being just kind of like, yeah, if you like Lumberjanes, if you like the characters, you like this humor, you like this, you like that, you will get what you want out of it. And it did progress the plot forward. There was absolutely, did not seem there was a whole lot of filler in the, even the fifth volume of Lumberjanes. But it got old for me after a while, and I didn't know the reason for why, and I really started thinking about it, and I'm like, and it's because it changed writers, isn't it? The writers, they know what they're writing, they know their stuff, but you can't really, the magic isn't completely there. You try your best, and there's a good effort there, but you can't bring to the table what the original writer brought to the table. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, when some authors die, their work is never continued. Because you can get it really, really close to the point where the average reader wouldn't notice, but someone like me would, that really likes that. Again, I was really digging Lumberjanes. I was digging it as much as I was digging Giant Days. Checking them out at the same time, in fact. That was before the days of miscellaneous writers and between Image, which actually, it started out as being a Grace Ellis book, so it would have been an Image writer book. And this isn't. John Allison. Was it John Allison? Yes. John Allison has done nothing for Image. Was it actually John? I didn't check it, sure. Yeah, okay, I was right. Alright. But yeah, so on the back, actually on the back here, perfect. See? There's Diesel. And Diesel Ignition, funny enough, I thought it was an OGN at first. When I looked up Diesel Ignition on my comic shop, it was just showing that. It wasn't showing the issues. And that's because the series is called Diesel. But it's Diesel Volume 1 Ignition. Right? Is that what it is? Yes. It's Tyrese Heath's Diesel Volume 1 Ignition. And also another thing I want to mention is that before I get too far ahead of myself, so you saw how Diesel Ignition was advertised on the back of Giant Days, right? So you say, okay, Boombox, they're both the same demographic, right? No. Junior/juvenile, so kiddies. And then this one is young adult. And that is a teen. And that is definitely the age demographic. Giant Days has a lot of like innuendo and sexual humor, suggestive humor. Like that, there is the difference between sexual humor and suggestive humor. This had both. And it definitely made that series. It was pretty frequent enough, and it wasn't like a joke that's gonna fly over the kids' heads. No, borderline would not. Borderline, the kids would ask the parent what they mean by that. And that's what this book had. It had those types of jokes. It was done very like wholesomely for the most part. The jokes are pretty wholesome, and they weren't like, you know what I mean? Like, it's that kind of wholesome humor. But again, suggestive sexual humor throughout. I wouldn't say every issue, but it was one of those things. It's like, wow, I somehow did not expect that, even though you're known for having suggestive humor here and there. Now, Lumberjanes is also in the same section of my local library as this Giant Days, which I find kind of funny, because Lumberjanes is definitely for kids. It would definitely, like, Lumberjanes, I've not read a single word of this book yet, because it's volume 1. It's not like with Giant Days volume 9, where I've read the first 8 volumes, and I know what I'm going into with Giant Days, so I know, so again, I was just saying about that, I know that because I've read the first 8 volumes. With Diesel Ignition, this is the first volume, so I can't say faux show if this is truly a kiddie book or not. The next Boombox book is Slam, and again, you saw that advertised on the back of Giant Days. I saw it advertised, like, you know what, the library has it, they do, awesome. And this is the only volume of the entire series. I guess it's a mini-series, it's a mini-series, I guess. Next one up is Smooth Criminals, and this was one that was advertised on the library's recommended for you section. So I'm going in completely blind with this one, because I keep like 20 cuts in, and I keep forgetting to make the joke of, you've heard of sex criminals, now prepare yourself for smooth criminals. And what's really ironic about this is this is a Boombox book. Sex criminals would never be a Boombox young adult book. It would be like, I can only imagine the controversy they would receive. Yeah, it's indies, so you kind of have to assume that they're gonna get away. They're gonna push the envelope a little bit because they can. But sex criminals, like, even like as a comic, like I'm surprised it's not shrink wrapped and the hardcovers aren't put under lock and key, because those are like really explicit. Now, the most explicit comics I've ever read, I wouldn't say that, but to the point where even I was surprised, and that should go to show. Next up is 7 Secrets by Tom Taylor. Because it was on sale, I decided to bite the bullet and buy his entire Superman Son of Kal-El series. It was a series I said the only way I'm going to read this series is if it is on sale digitally or at the local library. I started reading it thanks to my local library. They only have volume 1. Because even that lending library knew of the controversy and was like, you know what? Because no one seems to like this series, because it's just Tom Taylor spewing his political... Tom Taylor's Twitter being put into a comic book, from what I've been told, they didn't get past volume 1. It didn't order past volume 1. Now, I did like volume 1, but it was right before they got to what people really hate about that series. I thought it was just pretty good. Like, Tom Taylor, like I said, I should mention this when I mention... Actually, I mention this now, because this is a Tom Taylor book, Joy. I do like his writing. I've never read anything that's completely blown me away. Suicide Squad is the Bad Blood... Was it Bad Blood? Was it? Yeah, it's Bad Blood. Suicide Squad Bad Blood is the closest I have gotten to really to thinking to really enjoying something that Tom Taylor has written and thinking it broke new ground, like being like completely blown away. That is the closest it's gotten is Suicide Squad. Everything else I liked. I liked The Deceased. I really liked his Dark Knight of Steel the first time I read it. So, in my eyes, he's a pretty competent writer. I've never read anything by him I've absolutely hated outside of Neverlanders. So this is Seven Secrets. And that's a pretty big shame that I say that about Neverlanders. Because I messed up. I was supposed to go in a certain order because I was going to go to young adult. No, he's still an adult. But I was going to go from Boombox to Cub Boom, which is our kiddie book section. It was our kiddie book line, the complete kiddie book line. But as I was saying about Seven Secrets, Tom Taylor, like I said before, the only book I read by him that I hated was Neverlanders. And that is a shame because of the fact that The Deep is a kiddie book. Like, you can tell by this cover. And this is the book that I was saying you can definitely judge a book based off its cover. Because if I had just stared at the cover for longer than 5 seconds, I don't think I would check this out. Regardless of the fact that it's a Tom Taylor book, one I haven't read before, and one I was willing to give a chance to. But I saw the cover when I was checking the books and putting them in my backpack, and I was like, shit. But I'm willing to give it a chance. It's only like what 6 issues, but when I go away on vacation, this will be the book I read under the covers. Not because it's scary, but because I don't want anyone. I do not want to be caught dead holding The Deep by Tom Taylor. Mostly because it's the cover. Like no one's gonna even if I come out of The Deep saying it's one of the best Tom Taylor books ever written and one of the best kiddie books ever written and all that shit. I think even then I still would not want to be caught dead reading it. It's purely based on the cover. Like, comics already get a bad rap for, in general, and in graphic novels, in general, being marketed as kiddie stuff, when that's anything besides but the sort. Like, everyone that says that, I just want to buy them a copy of Preacher and say, read this, then start spouting your mouth again. Spout your mouth? Run your mouth again. Spouting. Why did I say spouting? Next up is Bleak, and that is written by Adam Glass. I don't know why I took this one out. I think it was because of how much like his Suicide Squad runs. Like I want to check out more, but like what his library has from Adam Glass, because I don't think he's written anything recently. This is technically breaking the rule because he has since written something for Image, but again I had this put on my little list on my phone so long ago that was before I even knew he was doing anything for Image. But I have it digitally. It's just a one shot, so technically speaking, it doesn't count, but also it does. But Bleak. It's B-R-I-K. Next up is The Vein, and this is 100% going in blind and 100% I saw this on my library's recommended for you section on my account. The Surrogates, written by Robert Venditti. Not only am I going completely blind, but as you saw with Robert Venditti, because I mentioned the author's name, it was I got his Wesley Dodds The Sandman on the Kindle when it was on sale, and I was like, the library has celebrate, and they had The Surrogates. Sometimes it's really nice doing that, though. I will say that. Alright, top 10. This is my PC. This is written by Alan Moore, and this is also one of the books I got as a gift from an Instagram follower. I have waited way too long to dig into this book. And this is book 1, by the way. Will I finish quickly reading volume 1 and then jump into volume 2? No. I'm just gonna read volume 1 for now, and I hate to say it, but I have a kind of a bad track record with everything Alan Moore that he has written, except for Swamp Thing and Watchmen, and I think that trend will continue with Top 10. But at least Top 10 has a twist to it that I like with superhero genre, but I don't know. It's the same exact publisher, America's Best Comics, which is a fucking lie, that brought you Promethea and Tom Strong. Tom Strong I hated. Promethea I liked a lot of. But Tom Strong I kind of hated. I would say kind of hated. It was a reread to redeem. So the most recent time I read it when I had it from the Instagram follower, I liked it a little bit more, but it never was a groundbreaking, underrated comic I really enjoyed that everyone else felt about that book. I thought it was just decent. Enough. The Silencer. This one is one that I had in my PC for so long because I was gonna get the rest of the series, but never ended up doing that. And at this point, I'm like, I don't care. I know there's 3 volumes in the series, and the library does not have volumes 2 and 3, nor do I have volumes 2 and 3 in my PC, obviously, digital or otherwise. So, I kind of don't mind. Like, it's whatever. I'm not. Sometimes I'll come out of a book saying, like, yeah, I liked it, but not enough to justify the purchasing volumes 2 and 3, especially when I have so much on my on my Amazon shopping cart, the save for later, and my wish list. That's what I do. I do the save for later, but my Amazon wish list. So to worry about volumes 2 and 3 of The Silencer, a series I keep forgetting about, honestly. So it'd probably end up being that. I don't know yet because I haven't read it. I haven't read even page 1 of this series. I almost freaked out because I was like, oh shit, the next one's a reread, but it's not. I don't know why I thought it was. And that book is Titans, Volume 1. This officially did not have anything beyond Volume 1 of the series, which is pretty damn disappointing because it's always one of those books that it's always going to be the book that's critically acclaimed, everyone loves, everyone's like, you gotta read this. I see it, I get excited, and then I realize when I check this out, like, wait, they probably don't have Volume 2, do they? Now, I saw this a long time ago, and the reason why I didn't check it out then was for that reason. But like The Silencer, I'm kind of in this screw it, I'm kind of in this screw it phase for comics at this point. So, screw it. As you saw before, new Suicide Squad, but I didn't say anything beyond that. So, as far as I was concerned, this is the first time you're seeing this video, and everybody in the comments is going to say the same exact thing because we're all on the same page. Alright, so anyways, new Suicide Squad Volume 1. The previous volume of new Suicide Squad, new 52 as a whole. I know this is Convergence, but I'm gonna merge the two and call it new Convergence now. We're just gonna say it's new 52. So the previous volume of the new 52 Suicide Squad series had the last issue of that volume was written by Sean Ryan, who writes this series. And when you know it, that was the best issue of the previous volume of Suicide Squad. So I'm in for a treat, I am sure. Batman Superman Volume 1 of the New 52, written by Greg Pak. A nice novelty sometimes is when you look up even like... So, when I look up like an Image Comics writer book, like a good example recently was Brian Buccellato. I saw Suicide Squad Most Wanted Deadshot. And I ended up like, and I was like, oh, I've never seen that book before. Oh, it's post New 52, that's pretty cool. I don't know where it takes place in the grand scheme of things, but hey, also written by Brian Buccellato, and he's a really good writer, and he's not being co-written, so I can completely judge this based off this book, of his writing based off this book. And also, it's a book I've never heard of. I'm more interested in that. So sometimes I get like little surprises like that, where like it's a series that I like, Suicide Squad, and a writer I like, and we merge them together. That's awesome. And that was the same with Greg Pak. I like his writing, and it's Batman, and it's a series that actually I want to check out for a long time. Batman Superman New 52, but kind of forgot about it. So nice little novelty. Now is this only 5 issues? No, 4 issues. Then 23.1 Darkseid issue of Justice League. Which was that technically written by Greg Pak, or was that Jeff Johns? Will it tell you? Yes, it will. Well, no. Yes, it will. Yes, it will. Alright, so let's see what it says for Justice League. See, guys, there's a point why there's a point of why I do. There's a point of doing several cuts of the same video, because some things you forget to do, or never I forget to do, not forget to do. I never think to do. No, Greg Peck, through and through. I know it was 23.1. I know the series is written by Jeff Johns, but I wondered if the .1 issue was also written by Jeff Johns. It is not. But finally, so it's why not even included in the omnibus. But finally, last but certainly not least, we have Icon and Rocket from the relaunch of the Milestone series, this time brought to us in co-partnership with DC Comics. Now, I read the Static Shock series by Vita Ayala, and it was actually really damn good, especially for Vita Ayala. Now, is it really damn good because Vita Ayala is not known for writing the best comics? I hesitate to say that, but it definitely, I would kind of say, I'd have a little asterisk, and I would say, this is an 8 out of 10. It'd probably be a 7 out of 10 if it were written by anybody else, or a 7.5 out of 10. It'd be a 7 out of 10 if written by anybody else. But because by Vita Ayala, it was a major surprise. She's not known for writing the best comics. But that, as I say, is that. A lot of comics to read, a very long video, long enough video. So now, for your little post-credit scene, we're going to order these books in different order. You're not going to see it, you're just going to see nothing. But you will hear my voice. And if there's anything I have to mention, I'll mention it now while I'm doing that. But I think I think I've exhausted everything I need to say about each and every book. Alright. So, Icon and Rocket, there is a second volume, and unfortunately, they don't have that second volume anywhere. My local library, or I almost just said my local library or otherwise. Like, no, like, it's gone everywhere. Nowhere. You can't find it anywhere. There is a follow-up series, and I think it's pretty new. Like, sometimes I'll say, like, okay, well, check out Icon and Rocket, because the follow-up series is too recent. Even if the Interlone Library has it, I probably can't check it out right this second. But maybe I'll reread Icon and Rocket, like it's so much, when that becomes available for patrons from other libraries to check out. Then, and only then, will I check out Icon and Rocket again, reread that, and again, reread to refresh. Honestly, that's happened sometimes. Scalp is a good example. I swear to God, the London Library that has those last 2 volumes got it in between my last reread and now. Which, yes, is very epic. It is really epic. Alright, but yeah. I think that was it. Sometimes I don't do too great with multitasking. I have to remember what specific pile I have these books in. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean what I'll be reading, what will be going on vacation with me piles. Those 2 piles. 3 if you count the what I've read so far piles. So, speaking on that, while it won't be too noticeable to you guys, I think it might be, because I don't think I've ever done a week after. And it could end up being like a good stack of books of what I've read so far. So, there you go. That's where I should go. Okay, so these are the ones in my PC. Okay, so the ones that aren't in my PC. Well, except for Riddler. Alright, so this one goes on the other side. I don't know why I thought of that song, The Other Side, from The Princess and the Frog. But I did. That's what came across my mind when I said Other Side. Does that happen to you guys? Also, leave a comment in this comment section below, and we won't read it. That was one of my favorite jokes from Oni Plays. Because I kind of, like, that's very true about some YouTubers. Unfortunately, I do have to give them credit where credit is due, because some YouTubers become so big that they get 1,000 comments on a bad day. Now, I read every comment because it's so infrequent, especially these days, getting comments. So I do read each and every comment, if you want to know that. Sometimes it's when I'm at work, so I only have time to read the comment and hit the heart button. So sometimes I have meant to reply and forgotten to. So, YouTuber apology right then and there, guys. There you go. This Justin Comics is his first YouTuber apology. Mark it in your calendars. So the pile of books that I want to bring with me, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Either I don't bring enough and I feel like I should have brought more when I'm away on vacation, or like on the ride up, I'm like, oh, what's tomorrow gonna bring? Yada yada yada. Or I bring too much and I don't end up reading as much as I wanted to because of that reason. But hopefully I got it covered. I don't know. Time will tell whether or not that's the case or not. Okay, so then we got upgrades. So perfect. So we're already here, right? Yes? Yes. So then far sector needs to go here, and then that's where upgrade soul goes to. Now you saw how thick upgrade soul was too. Yeah, I'm reading those by I mean that by chapter 2. I decided that. I'm like, this is too thick. Oh, cool, it goes by chapter. But I don't count it as reading an issue per day of upgrade soul. It's a chapter. That's different in my eyes. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, and we didn't have that one yet, so cool. 10. There. I'm counting upgrade soul. And where is New Suicide Squad? I know I got really angry and bashed the Shadow Realm, but hopefully it's still on Earth. Oh yeah, it's on something. Okay. Yeah. So 11, right? We said. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 total. But okay, cool. That's how I like to be. That's how I like to be at. That's perfect. So why 11? Well, 11 is how much I know I can read even on a work night. Now, does that mean I have any time at all to do anything else other than watch YouTube? Fuck no. Now, sometimes I care and sometimes I don't. And that should go, if that's not a good way of saying to you guys, really driving home just how much I love reading and collecting comics, I don't know what the fuck will. I think for me, it's just like video games, you get hooked on video games, that's gonna hurt your eyes. And you can get some educational value or some value out of video games. Apparently it does help with hand-eye coordination, except for me, that was like what I did for my 5th grade science fair, was to do video games help with hand-eye coordination. And I was the only, what do they call it? Like when it was just science and someone's like a negative, like they don't, you know, it doesn't work with them. But I was that. But that was fun. But yeah, so video games, I feel like if I got too hooked on video games, that wouldn't be a good thing, and also, like, at least I can read outside. You can't really play video games outside. Movies, same deal there. TV shows, and you know, there's upside to TV shows. Everybody talks about, everyone's seen TV shows. If you say, hey, if you've seen this new Netflix show, HBO Max, show on HBO Max, show on Hulu, Disney Plus, Prime Video, there will be at least one person at least one coworker who has said, yes, I have watched the show, oh my god, it's so good. And there you go, you got a good relationship going with that person. Comics is very tough. In fact, there are people I have met that have been very special to me for that reason. I was not expecting them to be into comics. They became very special. Now, some not as much as others. Like, not every person I meet, not every girl I meet, every woman I meet that's into comics I fall head over heels in love with. God, no. That's not happened. But it does definitely make this person, like, someone I want to talk to again. Yes, I know I almost said so. It sounded like you said talk to her. So there is that. So I definitely do sometimes say to myself, like, man, kind of wish we could watch some TV shows, get caught up on Invincible or The Boys, or watch these shows that everyone's talking about, because they do have time to do that, but we have 11 comics to read, and you know what I mean? So that was actually one of my New Year's resolutions. I think 5 is a good amount. 5, if I on a good day, I'll finish it by 5 o'clock. I spend the rest of the day playing some video games, and then watching a TV show, and then before I go to bed, maybe I remember to pack my lunch, because sometimes I do forget about that. Not because of how much I'm reading, it just escapes my mind. Like yesterday is a good example. I only had 5 comics to read because I wanted to read less. I was focusing on wanting to finish up books, so it became 5 books, and Fred the fucking lunch. Still, even though I had a half hour to kill after that. Alright. I think that is it. I did the stack of comics, second by one, stack them. And I also gotta get back on my reading, because I am officially somewhat behind on my reading. Actually, is it officially 4 o'clock yet? Yeah, it's 4:05. Alright. That's it. Alright, so I'm gonna put this on the bed too, because I want to read that tonight. And then probably upgrade soul. I just put that on yes, upgrade soul. I just put that on the bed, and then navigating with you. I'll finish. Some of these books I've read. Some of these books I've read part of. Oh my god. Oh, there's something I wanted to do. All right, so one last little post-credit scene before the end of the official end of the video. Okay, so how many books will I be bringing with me on vacation, including whatever OGN I don't finish? I want to bring End of the Fucking World with me, and Hands of Love I doubt I'll be able to finish, but Reindeer Boy I should be able to finish, and Lore Olympus I want to keep at home. I want to celebrate when I get home by reading that. In 6 days I want on this side. This is what I do, guys. When I'm figuring out what to bring with me on vacation, and what to read next, what to read at this certain point, what order to go in, that's kind of my thought process. Going on vacation doesn't happen very often, so I'm not doing that kind of conversation very often, but it's about the same, somewhat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, that's a bit much. I'll have to throw in one more at the end. And that is gonna have to be fun. Alright. Or maybe I'll read 6 a day. That's a great idea for someone who wants to finish up the book. Actually, Diesel Conditions only 4 issues, so. Alright, that's all I'll do. I'll read the 4-issue miniseries quicker than anything else. Alright. Again, thought process. Because sometimes I have. There was one time where I think I was actually filming, and I counted up how many books there were, and I was like, oh shit, we're at 25. How did that happen? How did I get that carried away? And the last few times, it's been on purpose, because I just had a few too many and then I'll just read, I'll read, instead of 11 comics per day, I'll read more 10, but it's 2 issues of a series, something like that. But yeah, I'll have to do that next time. Next time, oh boy, if I keep up all the comics I'll be reading, that I want to order from the library, I mean, it'll be interesting, to say the least. Those of you who like seeing videos like this are very long, will not be left disappointed, unless I do a speed run. Which, why would I do that? The only times I've ever done speed runs is with comic reviews, and that's usually for a damn good reason. In my defense. Alright. So that's it. End the video now officially. We're an hour and 2 minutes in. I think I should end this now. What do you think? Leave your answer in the comments below and we won't read them.